Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Council of the County of Lennox and Addington. I call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Can I have an adoption of the minutes of our regular monthly meeting held May 21st, 2025? Councillor Calver, seconded by Councillor Hogg. Any edits, errors, or omissions to note? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. We have an agenda before us this evening. Can I get an approval of the agenda? Councillor Davison, seconded by Councillor Fritsch. Any additions? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we move to the Warden's monthly activity report. Can I get a mover? Councillor Hogg, seconded by Councillor Richardson. I would just mention it won't be in this particular report. It will be in the next month's report, but I was able to attend yesterday the launch of the Best Practice Spotlight Organization launch for the John M. Parrott Center, which is part of a program initiative of the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario. Anyway, it was a great event, very tasty ice cream. I'm sure Angela will be mentioning it in her activity report, but I just wanted to say it was my pleasure to bring greetings on behalf of Council to that. Any further comment on the report? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Delegations, Eorn. Jason, you're up. My pal Jason.
That's right. Okay, there we go. I do remember how to use these things. Thanks. Well, good evening, and thank you very much for the invitation to address council. You might remember us from last year's tour when we were out doing our county council tour and came by. We're back this year just giving an update on the overall project of the cell gap as well as the ORN. So see if I can, there we go. So just as a quick refresher, we like to go through this as the project objectives. So overall, our goals for the cell gap project is to have 99% of the area where people work, live, and travel on major roadways covered with voice capabilities. So you can make and receive phone calls without issues. 95% of that same footprint area would be able to take standard definition calls or email, basic data transmissions, social media services, those types of things. And 85% of Eastern Ontario where we'll have high definition coverage, which would support things like video conferencing, movie streaming, and other more data intensive applications. And you can appreciate at the topography of Eastern Ontario, that is at 85%, a very aggressive target that we've set. But we are trending well to meet those goals. On the financials, this project is a $300 million or over a $300 million investment in Eastern Ontario, so a very large infrastructure project. Of that, $71 million is being contributed from the province of Ontario, approximately $71 million from the federal government, just over $10 million from the Eastern Ontario Warden's Caucus as well as Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus, and a minimum investment of $150 million being made by Rogers Communications. And just as a reminder, Rogers was our selected proponent of this project. We did go through a competitive RFP process, and they were the successful organization to partner with us on delivering this program across Eastern Ontario. On the project itself, when we do this, and this is just a very basic return of investment at this point, and our plan in a year and a half or so will be come back to council with more in-depth return of investment from the funding that was provided, but we are looking at about a 30-to-1 return of investment so far based on those basic calculations. Overall in the project, we are targeting to build 257 new tower sites, so these are brand new towers that will be built throughout Eastern Ontario, 311 uplifts, and the uplift is where there is currently a service being provided by Rogers on an existing tower site, but it was in an older technology, LTE or voice only. Our program will actually bring in the new 5G technologies and be scalable for future applications. And we'll have 75 sites where there'll be co-locations. And the co-locations, an existing tower where we will provide or build, it is a third-party tower provider or another telco, and Rogers will connect onto their infrastructure. Overall, across Eastern Ontario as of today, we are about 81% of our project has been completed. where it really matters here in Lennox and Addington and why we're here today to talk to you. Overall, Lennox and Addington invested $420,000 into the EORM project. And from that, we've had a return of about $13.5 million of infrastructure being built throughout the county. So overall return, and again, very basic return calculations, about 32 to 1. So a fairly good investment, if I'd take that if it was me. Overall, we have 11 new builds that are being built throughout this area. 6 of those sites are currently in service. I actually think it's 7, because I actually think one just recently, maybe as early as or as late as last week, went into service. All 13 of the upgrades have been completed, and 3 of the co-locations, which is 100% of those, are finished now as well. On the overall project, currently, project to date, we do have 121 sites. We're close to about 130 now sites that are in service, as well as 64 of the co-locations. But if you look at the planned targets, we do have a lot of work left to be done here in year 5. We are looking to build 112 sites, which is more sites than we've ever had built yet in the life of the project, so very aggressive targets, as well as 9 co-locations. With the final sites in year 6, which our target or our project is finished at the end of July 2026, so a short window period of time there to complete the last 24 new towers as well as the last 2 co-locations. Overall, in the new builds, we are just about 50% of the project complete, and then the co-locations, we are close to completion there as well, about 86%. Within the Lennox and Addington, these are the 5 sites that are remaining to be completed. So 3 of the 5 are to be completed in 2025, with 2 carrying into the 2026 timeline, so that will be early in 2026. The tower sites and locations, just as local people, you may have a different naming conventions. These are what are provided to us by Rogers, so it may not exactly line up, but it is gives us sort of a geographical reference as to where those sites will go. So quite a bit of work still to be done this year, and we will have most of that project completed as well. This slide here, we just like to show where we started to where we're going. So we did take high definition coverage, which is the hardest to achieve from our targets. When we did the propagation mapping in the fall of, in November of 2024, the slide on the left was where we were looking at landing. It was about 87% against our demand bins. When we are finished with all of the towers being done, the slide on the right is our proposed or projected coverage, which is about 94% of Eastern Ontario being covered with high definition services. So another map we'd like to put in here just on the drive test data, and this is where we actually have a vehicle driving around Eastern Ontario on the major roadways, collecting the data on various points throughout their tours. If we look at where we started in the fall of 2021, the red areas are those areas that had pretty much no coverage at all. In the recent drive test in the fall of 2024, we've already seen significant improvements on the coverage, and we continue to see that trend with about 50% of the towers yet to be built. So things are moving well, and we are trending in a positive direction. Overall in the activities, this slide would say, as everybody's aware, it's been a busy year. We spent a lot of time working with local municipalities at the county council levels, sharing information and educating. A great deal of time with the Indigenous communities throughout Eastern Ontario. There are 18 of them that we are currently working with on this project. We were hoping to have a few more announcements out, but there's been a few political changes at the provincial and the federal level that slowed us down on there with a couple of elections. But now that those have been finished, we have been able to make our first announcement in a while last week, and another one expected, hopefully, in the fall of this year. So things continue to be busy, and we continue to be available if there's concerns or issues or challenges with local municipalities or the counties or with residents. We are always available to help support in any way possible, or educate or share information or listen to concerns and complaints. So if you have issues or concerns, please don't hesitate to let us know, and we will do our best to help facilitate those discussions. On the timelines and next steps, so we are continuing to do, while the upgrades are finished, so that is done. The land use authority for Lennox and Addington is believed finished now. I thought there might have been one site, but I think we just finished all of that, so that's been great. We got that completed. The consultation process continues throughout the life of this project, as well as the new tower construction. Announcements we will have as soon as we can do those. And then other initiatives, which I'll talk to in a couple of slides here. But as an organization, we continue to look for other regional opportunities to support the municipalities throughout Eastern Ontario with the skill sets that EORN has developed over the past 15 years. We added a couple of slides, and I won't go into these, but just to say there is a lot of turmoil in the Canadian telecommunication market. Where it impacts us more directly from our project is recently Rogers Communications announced the sale of some of their core transport to Blackstone Networks. It is an American organization that is making an investment into their company, but they do have a number of fail-safe portions in there protect their organizations as well as our projects. And Redwood Infrastructure, it does have an impact on our project, but from an ASIP project, which is the fiber to the home programs, if you have Rogers working in those, Redwood is now doing a good portion of their infrastructure builds. So that may come up with staff or throughout conversation in the local areas. On the strategic plan itself, and I think it would have been around the time we came here a year ago, we had just finished our 5-year strategic plan with our board of directors as well as our staff, realigning our priorities on focus over the next couple of years, not just with the completion of the Cell Gap project, but also looking at other opportunities as our organization evolves and changes, and where we can support, again, as mentioned, municipalities or the counties through regional objectives and projects where there may not be capacity or skill sets to deliver on this. We are 1 year into that plan now, and we're about to do a quick review of that to make sure we still are on track. But one of the changes that came out of that, as we are a non-for-profit organization, we did change our letters of patent, which isn't something you do in an organization like ours very often. But by doing so, we expanded it from broadband and cellular into a couple of other key areas that we felt would be relevant, again, from that regional perspective, into project management services, the infrastructure project services, technology service support, and municipal support. So yes, it is very generic and it is quite vague, and that is by design to allow us a great amount of latitude to be able to support where there is a relevant opportunity. We do work closely as well with the OWC and the EOLC at looking at possible opportunities and projects where we might be able to support, again, on that regional aspect. Under our current initiatives, we have developed and we have successfully implemented the duty to consult process. This was about 13 months of very focused effort to come to a level of recognition from the province that the duty to consult process and mitigation was viable. Those learnings are available, and we are very willing to share that with municipalities. If you encounter a situation where the duty to consult process is required, we would be available to help support through that process. We are working with Lanark County to develop a automated speed enforcement program, looking at it more as a regional perspective where we can support smaller municipalities that may not have the resources to be able to implement such a program across Eastern Ontario. So we are in the midst of a final review of that with them. We are working with the Canadian Internet Registry Authority, so the CIRA, and what they do is broadband testing to see what the speed throughputs would be, looking for opportunities where either the speeds don't meet the objective of 50/10 from the province at this point, or to validate that the speeds are there. As a partner of that organization or a signed-on partner, we do have licensing, and it is available to EORN partner municipalities like Lennox and Addington. And we are looking to promote that to have a crowdsourced model where residents are able to test their broadband performance, and we can validate that against current maps and future plans. We're also working on the very last PREM project, which is under the ASIP program, the Provincial Broadband Program, is where there is gaps potentially in coverage from that. Again, collecting that data, building those business cases for funding to try to close some of those gaps. We are working on a GIS mapping exercise and digital twin And that's with the OLC, of which we are members. And we also work on regional procurement models, such as joint servicing, and currently looking at one in insurance. So a number of different initiatives in flight right now. Just quickly on this here, and this is just for information, this is more or less what the map would look like on this here data. From an ERN perspective, we are able to collect and aggregate that data to make it actually at a township or municipal level, so we can understand what the performance levels of broadband are in any of the either county or township levels. And we are looking to take that information and data and build business cases or identify gaps that may be in the broadband networks. This will manage and test both landline or the fiber to the home, as well as satellite and mobile or cellular networks as well. Yeah, questions? Done.
Thank you, Mr. St. Pierre. Any questions for the presenter? Councillor Hogg.
Yeah, I've had several questions from cell phone users who are not Rogers customers, don't have access to this technology, and they're questioning why public money was expended and is not being uniformly distributed.
And that's a fair question, and we often get that as well. And so when we originally built the business case for this, our goal was to be able to provide to multiple carriers and be able to have total coverage. When the cost came back, though, for us to be able to do that, it was much higher than we would have anticipated. So when the RFP went out, we only had 2 companies that bid on it, Rogers and Bell. Based on the process, Rogers was awarded that project. So it was done through an open and competitive RFP process. The challenge, you're right, if you're not a Rogers customer at this point, you will not see the immediate benefits of this program. The long-term benefits, though, is that the infrastructure that's being built is available to other carriers like Bell or TELUS or anybody else who wants to get into that market under the co-location agreements. And there are space available on those towers for those organizations if they elect to co-locate there. So you're right, it won't have the immediate benefit for all, but it does have that future benefit and possibility for other carriers to come on there.
Do you have a follow-up, Councillor Hogg?
No, just, I live right in the heart of the expansion area, and I do get that question fairly frequently, and it's pretty hard to answer, because when you say 95%, you don't really mean 95%, you only mean 95% of Rogers customers.
If you have a Rogers phone, or yes, or the Flacco brands, then yes, that would fall within that. We don't know where the model will go in the future. There was some talk about the MVNO, so the mobile virtual network operator models, which would allow for multiple carriers to go across and share bandwidth. Our goal and the CRTC looked like they were going that way. It's not evolving quickly. But for now, that is the situation. You are right. And it's not, again, I appreciate it's not an easy one, and if there's help we can provide to explain that, then please let me know and we will do so.
Councillor Fritsch.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Yeah, just a follow-up question, Jason, to the ones that Henry asked. Is there a time lag for, or a gap between when the tower goes in service with Rogers before someone else can co-locate on it? That's a common question I get. So, you know, if Bell wants to locate, do they have to wait a year or two, or can they do it right away?
So they can apply for the process. I don't know what the process takes. I'm going to say it's probably not days or weeks. It's probably a bit of a delayed process on that, but they can make that application as soon as they're aware those towers are in place. Through our project, and because of the public-facing aspect of this, other carriers are aware of where that infrastructure has been built, and they are, within the industry, they know that co-location process pretty well. So if they want to go there, and there's a business case for them to do so, they can make that application. It may take 18 months for them to be able to get their equipment on there and build that out. So I would say, yes, there is probably a delay of 18 to 24 months through that entire process of what that looks like. I'm not sure it's directly, you know, a carrier holding back on somebody else. I think that's just that process of testing, engineering, validation, and the internal business cases.
Councillor Calver.
Yeah, through your worship. Just a comment to Councillor Hogg and Councillor Fritz there. As a TELUS user for over 30 years, I know exactly what you're talking about. We actually had to switch ourselves last year to Rogers just because the service was falling off with the other carriers. But I believe, once everything's up and running, things should be good all over again. But for the interim, it's a rough go for sure.
Other questions for the presenter? Ms. Lalande. Before proceeding, I'll just recognize for the public's benefit, Ms. Lalande is joining us today from Stone Mills. Councillor Wise sends his regrets, and Councillor Lalande is filling in as the alternate. Please proceed.
Just a quick question about Blackstone Networks and Redwood Infrastructure. Sorry, I may have missed this, but are they Canadian-owned companies or American or other international?
Redwood is actually Canadian-owned or Canadian capitalist-owned. Blackstone, though, is American-owned.
Go ahead.
Just wondering if in today's climate you've considered the implications of that?
We do have legal counsel involved in going through that process to understand what the full impacts may be, but we feel at this point it doesn't have, it's only on a small portion of the network, not including the data or the transfer of the data, so we feel that it's a fairly safe, small concern for us at this point. It's more of a financial arrangement with an investment being made to Rogers. The operation, the management, and all that continues to be with Rogers and not through this. It's just a financial arrangement.
Anything further from council? I take a motion to receive the presentation. Councillor Fritsch, seconded by Councillor Davison. Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. St. Pierre. And we now come to matters for consideration. Transportation Subsidy Program. And I'll turn to the Director of Social Services.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. As we know, transportation in small rural municipalities is always a challenge. We're quite a large geographic area with a smaller population, so public transportation is always a challenge in terms of ridership and affordability. So a nonprofit corporation is requesting a letter of support from the county. They've previously been to Pellis, and it was supported as well. And they're also approaching other community agencies looking for letters of support in order to support grant applications to help with the low-income subsidy program. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you, Ms. Chenier. Council, questions on the report? Deputy Warden.
Thank you. I just lost it. The letter is requested for Lennox and Addington Transportation Subsidy Program. Is this looking to be for the total of the county, or is it just a certain area that it would, when they get grants and if it gets up and running, where would it serve? I guess is my question.
Through the warden, thanks for that question. Initially, they're looking at Greater Napanee, just because they're not sure how successful they're going to be with grants. They're starting small, and hopefully they hope to be able to expand in the future to be the whole county. But at this time, what they're looking at is Napanee. They want to look at what the ridership is, the true cost once it's implemented, and those kinds of things.
Other questions from council? Then I'd entertain a motion. Councillor Hogg moves the recommendation, seconded by Councillor Fritsch. Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Hot mix contract. I'll turn to Mr. Wager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you, just to summarize this report. In 2024, Council directed staff to apply for the HECS funding. We were denied that funding. In a post-funding report, we informed the MHIP that we were delaying our reconstruction and just doing an overlay which was a recommendation for best management practices for asset management until we can fund the project. They followed up saying that there was a potential for us to receive funding. They would be letting us know late July, early August, whether or not we were going to receive that funding. If we could postpone our works on County Road 6 and go back to the original reconstruction plans that were submitted in the application back in 2024. So, and this had construction starting in 2026. So this report is asking council if that's something they want to do, and how do they want to basically direct staff, because we're recommending to delay County Road 6 for the chance of 50% funding on a road that's going to be $4 to $5 million. If we can get, you know, half of that paid for by the province, that's money that our taxpayers don't have to pay, and a chance to even if we don't get the funding, the worst case is we postpone it for the year. But if we do postpone it, the contractor has the right to come back and ask for about $150,000 from loss of profit due to the amount of asphalt and roadworks that were involved. So staff are recommending that basically we had a project in County Road 12, and that's the reason for the late revision. I apologize for that. It's a $1.5 million project on County Road 12 that we anticipated to go to tender. Most of those items are covered in the hot mix tender, so staff's just recommending cancel part, let's say A, of the hot mix contract and do a contemplated change order through the hot mix contract for the County Road 12 works. The works on County Road 6 are just under $1 million. I think they're about $920,000. So it's relatively the same size. So that would be like a fair trade in good faith to the contractor. I'd be happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Thanks, Mr. Wager. Questions from council? Deputy Warden.
I just have a couple questions for clarification, and also for anybody that might be viewing virtually from my list, sorry. Do I understand it correctly that if we go ahead with the overlay this year, we would be pulled out of the funding, potential funding, because of the upgrade on the riding surface?
I don't know the actual question of that. My understanding is we could go ahead with the overlay at $920,000, and then still get the funding to reconstruct it next year. But to me, that would be a waste of county funds. That road is in, I'm going to say, poor condition. I think it's the worst one in the. Oh no, it's not the worst one in the county, but it's close. But it's a high volume area, so it is on our list to get done, but delaying it a year. So even if we don't get the funding, all we'll do is include it in the hot mix contract in 2026. So it'd be delayed a year. But to be honest, we're halfway through July. Loyalist Township is doing some water main reconstruction as part of their works. That's not going to finish for another month. We're already delayed anyway, so there's a chance that we're going to have to delay that road anyway, just because of the timing. There was a union strike with the pipe layers, and that's put Loyalist works behind, and then subsequently put our works behind as well.
Okay. I did have a couple more questions, but he actually answered them in that answer, so well done.
He's good like that.
Must have read my mind. Yeah, okay, and it is a very rough area, one that we hear about regularly from residents in the area, so I just wanted to make sure I understood it correctly. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Wager.
Yeah, sorry, just for the public listening out there, delaying this to get the funding, the reconstruction, so the overlay would keep the road, the existing lanes and everything the way it is, except Walden Pond Court, we'd be putting in a small turn lane there. The reconstruction that the county's planning to do there would be 2 roundabouts, a median, large storm drainage. Like, it would really improve that roadway to handle traffic and then act as traffic calming, but also increase efficiency on that road. which is another reason why that staff are recommending to put that project on delay, because again, it's such a large project that if we can get funding for, it's a great benefit to the public.
Thank you, Mr. Wager. Council, further questions? Then we do have a recommendation before us. I would seek a mover for that. Councillor Calver, seconded by Councillor Fritsch. Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. And Mr. Wager again for item number 3, Boundary Road Agreement.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Warden. This is a pretty standard boundary road use agreement. Going through our files, we realized we did not have an agreement with the town of Deserano. There's approximately, I think it's about 850 meter stretch that is a shared boundary road from the limits of Deserano. This agreement just outlines who's doing what and who's responsible for what and permitting and whatnot. It is, like I said, pretty standard that we share with County of Frontenac, Tynanega Township, and our other neighboring municipalities. You will see the bylaw coming through the bylaw sections later in council, and I'll be happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Thank you, Mr. Wager. Any questions from council? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation. Councillor Hogg, seconded by Deputy Warden. Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Central Eastern Area Snowmobile Region. Again to Mr. Wager.
Yes, thank you, through you, Mr. Warden. This is an agreement to define the responsibilities and liability for the Central Eastern Area Snowmobile Region Club that is in Addington Highlands. This agreement puts in place who's responsible for damages that happen to a county road. We have had some damages up there, and this agreement will be put in place so that future damages will be the responsibility of the snowmobile club and then not come back onto the taxpayers or the municipality. Happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Any questions for the director? Seeing none, I'd seek a mover for the recommendation. Councillor Fritsch, seconded by Councillor Lalonde. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried. Community paramedicine.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. So our community paramedics have moved to their new home at the old Lenadco complex. The funding for this was made possible through joint partnership with the hospital and with Ontario Health. So we would be happy for council to tour that facility. We've planned it for next council meeting at 5 p.m. prior to the meeting. And we just wanted to make council aware of that. I'd be pleased to answer any questions council may have.
Any questions from council? This is just a note and receive. Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Calver. All those in favor? Motion is carried. The appointment of Deputy Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Warden. You'll see a bylaw later on the agenda. This is to appoint Beth Reedman as a deputy clerk for the county. Beth has been fulfilling this role with several committees for a few years, several years. So this is really just housekeeping to officially give her the title. There's no financial implication to this. And I can say it's part of succession planning also, that many municipalities do this. When their clerk is going to retire in a few years, then maybe they have a couple of deputy clerks on hand. And I'd be pleased to answer any questions council may have.
Any questions from council? Seeing none, again, this is to note and receive. Councillor Davison, seconded by Councillor Calver. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Advisory Committee reports. The JMPC Compliance Report. Over to Ms. Malcolm.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Warden. So you can see in the large graph at the start of this report that we've had 5 admissions in the month of May and 1 respite resident, and we've had 3 deaths and 1 discharge. Of particular importance, I think, is the significant changes in our staffing levels at the home in terms of tenure. So a significant difference in the amount of time it takes for an employee to get to a full-time position. So historically, as you can see, it took 10 years. And we heard lots about that. And now you can often walk into a full-time position. So we're seeing that in 2022, 29% of our staff had been with us for 2 years or less, but now that number has risen to 36%. And then for our longer-term staff, I took the 10 years and over, and it's dropped from 41 down to 26%. So a significant difference in the capacity and the skills, and so it's requiring a different sort of approach to our education, and we're starting maybe a little bit more of a foundational knowledge that we're trying to build with the staff. So it was just interesting when we were seeing all of the increase in staff saying there's so many new people and I don't know who this person is, and so that would be why. We don't have any report for you for ministry updates, although I can tell you that one arrived today. So I will have one for you next time. In terms of the next graph in your report, our monthly QIs, there is 2 superstar areas. One is under antipsychotics provided or given without the diagnosis of psychosis, and that is well below the provincial average and continues to decline. And the other one is on the other end of that graph where you see the worsened stage 2 to 4 pressure ulcers, and we didn't even make the graph because we have none. So that's really fantastic as well. And then the other 3 charts in the middle, again, continue to decline, and only one of the areas is slightly above the provincial average. So it's all really, really positive results. Under infection prevention and control, nothing particularly alarming there. We have started a new audit tracking tool that's instead of a manual system, we now have an electronic system, and so the labor involved in tracking our audits and analyzing the trends is going to be significantly easier for all of us. And we have no outbreaks, and that's all I have. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Any questions for the director? Deputy Warden.
Thank you. I'm glad to see the pressure ulcers and that, like you said, are, well, negligible, not there. But I still have a question related to it just because of the way I see the admissions going. When 2 of the 5 admissions came from acute care or rehab hospital, if they arrive at the JMPC with something, and I'm just picking ulcers because that's something that I unfortunately can picture, does it automatically go on the books that it would be one in the home, even if it was inherited and did not happen there, but it would be on the record anyway?
Through you, Mr. Warden. So the beauty of that is with our documentation system, as long as we do the body assessment within the first 24 hours of their admission, then we can track it and say that was an acquired from the hospital, or we've inherited it from wherever, it could be from wherever, and so then that number doesn't get held against us, which is great. But if the skin assessment is not done within 24 hours, then it would be.
Other questions? Then I'd take a motion to receive the report. Councillor Fritsch, seconded by Deputy Warden. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried. Any committee reports by members of council this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to activity reports, and I'll start with the CAO.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't have anything else to add, but I'm happy to answer any questions council might have.
Any questions related to administrative services? Seeing none, financial services. Mr. Day.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and through you. The one thing I'd like to highlight is there was a request for an update on the weigh scales that the council had approved the purchase in 2023 to our local detachment. If history serves me correctly, they had borrowed a couple units from neighboring detachments and requested that council support their purchase. So there was a cost of 2 weigh scales at approximately $10,000. So the stats there in the report show in the last 3 years we've collected about a little over $3,000 that went towards the price of those weigh scales. I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Any questions on financial services? Seeing none, social services, Ms. Chenier.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. The only thing I'd like to highlight is I'd like to extend my congratulations to Carrie Kippen and the community partners who helped organize and plan a professional learning day for our childcare educators in Lennox and Addington and Prince Edward County. There were 153 educators that attended that day. So it's quite a big endeavor, and it was well received by all staff that attended. I'm happy to answer any questions council may have.
Any questions for the director related to social services? Seeing none, community development services.
Okay, thank you. Just one item to note, and that was that our third annual Naturally Island Lake gravel ride took place on June 7th, and we had 450 cyclists from Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and even beyond that, and toured about 53 kilometers around Stone Mills, starting in Centerville. We had a nice weather day, and Rob Plumley does an amazing job with these events, and just kudos to him, and lots of great feedback that came from all the cyclists, and getting ready for next year. And before that, we're getting ready for our Discover Ride, which takes place in September. So fingers crossed for good weather that day as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Any questions for the director? Seeing none, long-term care, Ms. Malcolm.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Warden. I cannot tell you how excited Landon Haynes was when he was helping us install our new HVAC system. He is our first maintenance student that we've had for the summer, and he couldn't sleep the night before because he was so excited. So he was really happy to be a part of the installation and putting it up on the roof, and the company was fantastic with him. And we've also had an increase in significant interest through NDSS students wanting to come to our maintenance co-op because they can't believe all the things they get to do at the Parrott Center. So that's very exciting too. In terms of family council, I have a little bit of an update from what I've shared with you. Our resident and family liaison, who is Lori Johnson, who just started on the 2nd of June. We have reached out to family council to ask them if they would like her to be their staff liaison, staff support, and kind of partner with them to do the chairing and the secretarial work related to family council. And then she will also help to recruit families to participate in family council, as is required by the Fixing Long-Term Care Act. It is a big job, and it's a difficult position to fill, and so we're hoping that family council will take us up on that offer, and then that council can continue. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Any questions for the director? Seeing none, we move to the chief, emergency services.
Thank you. Through you, Warden. Nothing to add to the report, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chief Jones? Seeing none, we'll come to HR. I notice Ms. McGarvey is not here. The CAO may answer on her behalf. Nothing further to add. Any questions related to HR? Seeing none. Infrastructure services, Mr. Wager.
Yes, thank you, through you, Mr. Warden. I don't have anything to add, but I'd be happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Any questions for Mr. Wager? Seeing none, then I take a motion to receive all of the activity reports this evening. Councillor Hogg, seconded by Councillor Davison. Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Matters for information, I'm going to take a motion on the floor to receive all of those, and then if anything needs to be extracted, we can do that. Councillor Hogg, seconded by Councillor Fritsch. Anything to be extracted? I know there's one, and if she wasn't going to do it herself, I would. Go ahead. Oh, I'll go to you, Councillor Hogg. Which would you like? Yeah, okay, perfect.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Councillor Hogg. It's really been an honor for the last 7 years to serve on the CAMA board. I'm just thinking for the public watching that might not know what CAMA is. It's the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators. It's a national group. It's CAOs from across the country, about 1,000 members across the country. And we work to promote excellence in the profession of municipal administration and support CAOs with the work that they do across the country. So it's been very fulfilling. I've had a number of wonderful emails from council. It was actually an email from Councillor Fritsch that made me think, because I was thanking council, just for the public's knowledge, thanking council and staff for their support. And when we were communicating, Tony, it occurred to me that maybe council doesn't realize just how integral the relationship that council and staff have at the county and how much of a difference that makes, that allows a CAO to reach for something more. Because you're such a community-minded council, you make decisions for the right reasons, you challenge staff in the right ways. It's just such a wonderful collaboration. We've got a secret sauce here, it's very special and it's rare. But it's that kind of an environment that provides the foundation that allows some of our directors who serve on provincial boards or other organizations, or myself serving on CAMA, it's that foundation that allows us to reach for more because we have something special here and it's chugging along and things are wonderful. If you have issues, then you don't have the time or the spirit or the energy or inclination to do other things and go beyond. So part of me being able to serve CAMA in this way is a thank you to you guys, to the senior leadership team and to council. Because without the secret sauce and the work that we do and the way that we do it, I wouldn't have the foundation to be able to do this extra bit. So I just want to say thank you.
Well, and I'm sure I speak for all of council in congratulating Brenda on this. I know from my own experience of working in this past year with the Wardens Caucus, and I'm sure my past wardens would join me in saying that Brenda is, universally respected wherever she is. She's sought for advice and counsel, and always ready and willing to give it, and sees her contributions in the larger municipal world of which we're all a part, not simply the narrow focus of the county, although of course we are very lucky and fortunate to have her. So again, congratulations. And then the second one, if you want to start us off, Councillor Hawk, number 2, the Long Service Recognition Award. Well, yep.
Well, I can't let her get off the hook that easy, so. 25 years is an amazing amount of time. And Tracy, I just want to say that you think you're going to retire someday. You're not allowed to retire. No, we're very lucky to have you, Tracy.
Yes, again, and on behalf of all of council, Tracy, congratulations. We're so grateful to have you. Any further comments from members of council related to either of those 2 items? Any other items to extract? Then we already have the mover and seconder to receive for information, and I would call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Statements by members. Are there any statements by members? Any notices of motion? Any matters of urgency? Then we have the Boundary Road Agreement bylaw. I take a mover for that. 3 readings. Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Calver. Any discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. And our second bylaw, the appointment of the Deputy Clerk. 3 readings. Councillor Calver, seconded by Councillor Davison. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried. And can I get a mover for the confirmation of proceedings for this evening? Councillor Fritsch, seconded by Councillor Calver. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried, and I would take a motion to adjourn. Councillor Hogg, seconded by the Deputy Warden. All those in favor? Motion is carried.